Tanma Tiramajanado Tasha Bhaktam Shanyanjandopi Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Tasha Bhaktam Shanyanjandopi Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Tasya Bhaktam Shanyanjandopi Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Chatur Vidashi Bhagavat Prasada Sadvana Chiptan Hari Bhaktasanya Chatur Vidashi Bhagavat Prasada Sadvana Chiptan Hari Bhaktasanya Trivaiva Tripten Bhadadaksadaiva Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Trivaiva Tripten Bhadadaksadaiva Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Trivaiva Tripten Bhadadaksadaiva Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Kiradikama Davayara Para Madhurya Kurupa Namna Kiradikama Davayara Para Madhurya Kurupa Namna Jana Swadana Lupasya Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Pratik Jana Swadana Lupasya Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Nikunjayuna Radhikali Sijai Jayadubir Yukti Apekshaniya Nikunjayuna Radhikali Sijai Jayadubir Yukti Apekshaniya Daksha Jivalavasya Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Atraki Daksha Jivalavasya Pande Kuroshi Charnavinda Hari Tven Asamasa Shastra Ruktasya tava vyata eva sadvi Saksha hari tvena samasa shastre Ruktasya tava vyata eva sadvi Prabhuya Praivatasya Bande Gurushi Charnavina Prabhuya Praivatasya Bande Gurushi Charnavina Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada, Dasha Prasada, Nagati Kutopi. Dasha Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada, Dasha Prasada, Nagati Kutopi. Jayam Stuvanta Jaya Satri Sanya Bande Gurushi Charnavina Jayam Stuvanta Jaya Satri Sanya Bande Gurushi Charnavina Samsaradava Naladita Loka Pranaya Karunya Ganakanatma Taptasya Kalyana Gunhanavasya Bande Gurushi Charnavina Krishna Prasaya Bhutle Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvitesa Shunyavadi Paskatyade Sitarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvitesa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Varadacharya His Divine Grace, Lady Bhaktivedanta Saraj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
ISKCON Ljubljana, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Varadacharya Asadhara Sadhu Shri Shriman His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Rup Sanatan Bhadragana, Shri Jeev Gopala Dasragana, Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Prem Jago Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasili Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha, Krishna, Gopa Gopinath, Shamakun, Radhakun, Giri Govindam Ki Jai, Matharadam Ki Jai, Vrindavandam Ki Jai, Mayapurdam Ki Jai, Navadvitam Ki Jai, Jagannath Puridam Ki Jai, Ayodhya Ki Jai, ISKCON Ljubljana Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamunamai Ki Jai, Srimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Haribo, Slava Zabrani Bhakta, Slava Zabrani Bhakta, Slava Zabrani Bhakta, Slava Shri Guru Shri Guranga, Mahahosava, Pierce Dev, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. No, this class. Yes. Everyone's awake? Well, if you feel tired, this class will be able to put you to sleep nicely. You'll get plenty of rest before the offerings this evening. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kopi Jana Balava Girivanadari Kopi Jana Balava Girivanadari Sodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Balava Girivanadari Gopi Jana Balava Girivanadari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Brahmadakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Shiman His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swaraj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Well Slava Zabrani Bhakta Slava Shri Guru Shri Gurangi Oma Jnana Dvanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chatur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuddha Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Bhagana Raghunatam Vidam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Vrijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakadhidam Shah Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Dagapite Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Preshubhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Trivyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm going to read from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Adi Leela, chapter 1. I'm going to start with verse 45. Acharimam Vijaniyam Navamanite Karichit Namartya Bhuja Sujeta Sarvadeva Mayo Guru. Let's start, 45. Anyhow, it's a different one. The aim of this class is to try to explain my understanding of what the position of Srila Prabhupada is in the movement and what the position of those who are giving initiation in the movement and what is everyone else's position. And I'll begin with text 45. And if that's not controversial enough, you can ask me some questions. We'll try and make it more controversial. Yes? What's that? 1. Adi Leela 1:45. Guru Krishna Rupahana Shastrera Pramana Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Kare Praktagane. According to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. Purport. The relationship of a disciple with his spiritual master is as good as his relationship with the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master always represents himself as the humblest servitor of the personality of Godhead, but the disciple must look upon him as the manifested representative of Godhead. You want it further away. So what would be the difficulty in understanding this? Here it says that the spiritual master. Now, of course, we know there are two kinds of spiritual masters. Actually, the initiating spiritual master and the instructing spiritual master. And then we have our founder Acharya. So if the spiritual master is as good as God, then what's the difference between him and Srila Prabhupada? Even Srila Prabhupada might be as good as God. So why should we bother with Srila Prabhupada if our spiritual master is as good as God? And is there such a thing as being as good as God and being better than someone who's good as God? So this is what I'll try to clarify. So the next text, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quotes from the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Acharyamam Vijaniyam Navamanite Karichit Namartya Bhudya Suyeta Sarvadeva Mayo Guru. One should know the Acharya is myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him as an ordinary man, for he is a representative of all the demigods. Please repeat. One should know the Acharya is myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man. For he is the representative of all the demigods. So Srila Prabhupada's purport is, this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11:17-27, spoken by Lord Krishna when he was questioned by Uddhava regarding the four social and spiritual orders of society. The Lord was specifically instructing how a brahmachari should behave under the care of a spiritual master. A spiritual master is not an enjoyer of facilities offered by his disciples. He is like a parent. Without the attentive service of his parents, a child cannot grow to manhood. Similarly, without the care of the spiritual master, one cannot rise to the plane of spiritual transcendental service. Here it mentions that the service of the spiritual master is to educate the disciples in developing a service attitude. So unless we accept the spiritual master as good as God, then the service attitude can't be properly developed. Because we have a service attitude towards so many things, but the service attitude towards God, or representative of God, is different. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions that the path to spiritual life is undoubtedly difficult. Therefore, one should approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciple succession from the Lord himself. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and one who is in the disciple succession can convey the message of the Lord as the Lord gave it. No one can manufacture his own process, as the fashion of foolish pretenders. Therefore it is said, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, that actual path religion is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharma then Prabhupada quotes the dry arguments and different types of speculation and even different scriptures cannot really help one on the path. Who cannot, I don't think Prabhupada uses the word help. I think they can help you, but therefore, mental speculation, dry eye, cannot help one lead to the right path. Nor by independent study of books can one obtain progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a spiritual master in the line of disciple succession to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Now we can understand why the path is so difficult. How many people have been trained from their childhood to accept someone in full surrender and serve them like a menial servant without false prestige? Anyone been trained like that? Have you been trained like that? Maybe. So, one has satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret and advancement in spiritual life. Service and inquiries constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. And when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses him with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. One should not only hear submissively, but one should get a clear understanding through submission, service, and inquiries. The spiritual master is by nature very kind to the disciple. When the student is submissive, it is always ready to render service, then the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. In other words, we had to have some relationship of surrender. Otherwise, how are we going to surrender to Krishna? We're not exactly surrendering to just the person, we're surrendering to the knowledge coming down in the disciple succession. And we have to serve that knowledge and that person who conveys it just like a humble servant, without false prestige. Therefore, the brahmachari goes to the Gurukul not to learn mathematics and how to study languages, whatever. He goes there to learn surrender and how to become a servant without false, the servant to the Supreme Lord and his representatives without false prestige, like a menial servant. Therefore it says, Brahmachari Gurukule Vasandanta Gurorhitam. That one should live in the house of the spiritual master. Now, we may not live in... Now, for those of us that don't live in the temple, what does that mean? It means we have to make our house a temple. Wherever we're living a temple, even if we're living in a tent, we have to make that as a temple and install the deities. And we should think that I'm simply here to serve Krishna as a servant of my spiritual master. And whatever we're doing in the house, we should do without false prestige, or wherever we are, just like a menial servant, trying to satisfy the spiritual master. After all, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Yari Deka Tari Kaha Krishna Upadesh, Amara Agai Gurahana Tari Desh. Whoever we meet, we're supposed to try to help them become Krishna conscious. We have one relationship with everyone, all the time, eternally. Our only business eternally with everyone is to help them become Krishna conscious. Not only here, but even in the spiritual world, that's the same relationship we have with everyone there. We're always trying to help others develop their relation with Krishna. Therefore, in order to do that, we need expert guidance. And the spiritual master is the expert guider to help us. And every time we meet anyone that we tried, Krishna will give us the intelligence how to help them become Krishna conscious. He'll remind us of the instructions of the spiritual master, but the instructions of the spiritual master come through disciple succession. He's a representative of the disciple succession. And he teaches us not only to serve, he teaches us how to serve those instructions, which means ultimately we serve those instructions wherever they're coming from. They come from the disciple succession, and they're also being conveyed by others in the disciple succession. But the spiritual master is the one that we accept as good as God, and we're supposed to surrender. Without that spirit of surrender, then there's no advancement in spiritual life, because that's all Krishna wants, is surrender. Loving surrender, not forced surrender. He wants loving surrender. Confirmed. And therefore the brahmachari goes, lives in the house of the Gurukul, and learns things like Archavan, Dasavan. Dasavan means become like a menial servant. Surida, determine. Saurida, to have a favorable attitude. He learns different things. And that's what we learn here too. Everyone's learning that. The spiritual master is also called Acharya, or a transcendental professor of spiritual science. The Manu Samhita explains the duties of an Acharya, describing a bona fide spiritual master, describing that a bona fide spiritual master accepts charge of the disciples teaches them the Vedic knowledge with all its intricacies, and gives them their second birth. The ceremony performed to initiate a disciple into the study of spiritual science is called Upanita, or the function that brings one nearer to the spiritual master. In other words, the spiritual master is supposed to be someone in meditation on Krishna. Now, he may be Kanistadhikari, he may be a Madhyamadhikari, he may be an Uttamadhikari. But in any case, he's supposed to be, ideally, at least he's supposed to be on the Madhyamadhikari platform, which means that he knows the difference between what is spiritual and what is material. And he chooses spiritual rather than material. And therefore his instructions, he's called Ashraya, Guru Ashraya, Adal Guru Ashraya. Because in his instructions, he only repeats what he's heard from Krishna, from the acharyas in disciple succession. He may not have realized them to the same extent that a Mahabhagavat may realize them, but at least he repeats them, and therefore his disciples are actually connected with the disciple succession. Now we may imagine falsely that someone who's repeating the message of Krishna is just an ordinary person. But actually anyone repeating the message of Krishna is not an ordinary person, they're an instrument for Krishna. They're under Krishna's control, and therefore they're as good as Krishna. They may not have realized everything that they're repeating, but at least they're acting as an instrument for Krishna, which means that they're serving, they're acharya in disciple succession, which means they're a proper instrument to convey that philosophy in parampara. Prabhupada said the job of the spiritual master is not very difficult. It's just like a message carrier, postman. They deliver your letter to you, but they don't open the letter and read it and make changes to it. Their only job is simply deliver the letter as it is. Then they're doing their service properly. Now, by doing that, one comes closer to the spiritual master. Anyhow, Prabhupada describes more about this. And then, out of immense compassion, does the personality of Godhead reveal himself with the spiritual master. Therefore, in the dealings of an acharya, there are no activities but those of transcendental loving service to the Lord. He is the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. And it is worthwhile to take shelter of such a steady devotee who is called Ashraya Vigraha, or a manifestation or form of the Lord of whom one must take shelter. So this is even the spiritual master, if he's not on the highest level, he's also trying to develop this attitude of service to his spiritual master. The spiritual master never thinks himself to be a spiritual master, because that would just be a false idea. That would be a false identification. The spiritual master thinks himself to be simply the humble servant of his spiritual master. And by the mercy of the super soul within his heart, the super soul reminds one of the teachings of his spiritual master, and by reminding him of the teachings of his spiritual master, then the spiritual master is present in his teachings. Because of the desire of the soul to serve the instructions of the spiritual master, therefore the spiritual master and Krishna are constantly within his heart. And because the spiritual master and Krishna are constantly within her heart, because in the heart of the spiritual master, by his desire to serve his spiritual master, the whole disciple succession is there also. And if the spiritual master, when he gives instructions, actually he's conveying the instructions of the entire disciple succession, including Lord Krishna and the Panchatattva, the six Goswamis, etc. Now Prabhupada explains about a very elevated, If one poses himself as an acharya but does not have an attitude of servitudeship to the Supreme Lord, he must be considered an offender, and this offensive attitude disqualifies him from being an acharya. That the acharya must present himself not only theoretically but in reality as simply the humble servant of the acharyas and disciple succession. Without that mood of servitorship, what he's doing will have no effect. So the bona fide spiritual master always engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By this test, he is known to be a direct manifestation of the Lord and a genuine representative of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Quite an elevated position. But actually, that's what the bona fide spiritual master is doing. He's actually representing Lord Nityananda, the original spiritual master. Now, the spiritual master always thinks himself to be the humble servant of his spiritual master, and therefore when he gives instructions, he doesn't think these are my instructions. He thinks these are the instructions he's receiving from his spiritual master by the grace of the super soul, the original spiritual master. And therefore when he sees his disciples carrying out those instructions, then he learns from them how to become a better servant of his spiritual master. Therefore, he takes even his followers and disciples as a kind of guru for himself. Therefore, the spiritual master always remains as humble servant of his spiritual master and a humble servant of all the Vaishnavas and devotees. Therefore, he's an actual genuine representative of Lord Sri Nityananda. Such a spiritual master is called Acharya Dev. Influenced by an envious temperament and dissatisfied because of an attitude of sense gratification, mundaners criticize a real Acharya. In fact, however, a bona fide Acharya is non-different from the personality of Godhead, and therefore to envy such an Acharya is to envy the personality of Godhead himself. This will produce an effect subversive of transcendental realization. So we're getting this knowledge from Srila Prabhupada and from our acharyas and disciple succession. Now, we may not have realized this knowledge completely. As a matter of fact, we'd be an acharya if we realized this knowledge completely. And so far, no one has elected us as an acharya. But as Prabhupada explains at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, that one lady requested him to recommend a Bhagavad Gita, a translation of the Bhagavad Gita into English. And Prabhupada said, I cannot recommend any edition because all of them, all these translations, they've all deviated from the purport, the intent of the author, Hare Krišna. That if one wants to take a medicine, here we're talking about the Bhagavad Gita as an analogy, one should follow the directions of the doctor or the directions on the label of the medicine. One should not whimsically take the medicine. Similarly, Krishna is the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, and he proclaims that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, if we don't accept that, if we blindly reject it, then there's no reason to read the Bhagavad Gita, because it's a waste of time. Because we won't know what's correct, what's incorrect, because as far as we're concerned, it could all be incorrect. On the other hand, we have some authorities, such as Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, later on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and others. They accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, in the Brahma Samhita, it also accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, that knowledge is coming into simple succession. Evam parampara praptam, imam rajarshayo vidu. Therefore, we hear that knowledge from a representative of Krishna in disciple succession, how to revive our relationship with Krishna, that everyone has a relation with Krishna. The spiritual master is not trying to say you have an eternal relation with me and you have no other relationship with anyone else. No, the spiritual master explains you have an eternal relation with Krishna and I'm trying to help you revive that relationship. And we don't have to blindly accept, nor should we blindly reject that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead or Krishna's representatives. We have to learn the art. So to accept that, theoretically at least, that we have to develop a service attitude, I think Prabhupada writes, therefore, Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in the spirit of devotion. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality, or even a great personality. Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So according to the statements of Bhagavad Gita, or the statements of Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita should at least theoretically accept Shri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Theoretically. Otherwise, why study the book? If you want to learn, for instance, how to play any, for instance, how to write a theater play, and you don't believe that the person, and you ask the person, or I'll give a better example. You want to make $1 million, and someone wrote a book, How to Make $1 Million. And in the biography of the author, you find out that he's living in poverty. He's a homeless person. Now he himself doesn't know how to make enough money to live, in a house. And yet he wrote a book, How to Make $1 Million in 2 weeks. Now, if he knew how to do it, he probably wouldn't have to live it. He wouldn't be a homeless person. So therefore, how much faith can you have in such a book? Why would you bother studying a book by a person who's homeless about how to make $1 million in 2 weeks? How much faith would you have? So at least theoretically, if you read in the book he was the wealthiest person in the world and he made it in 3 months, then you would have a lot of faith in the book. So if we don't have any faith in the author, Krishna, that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, why bother reading it? Why bother trying to follow the instructions by which we'd realize that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that we're his eternal servants? We'd just be wasting our time. We have no theoretical faith, at least. Theoretical acceptance. That much faith. And therefore, that's a submissive spirit. We don't know perfectly, but we have some faith. And we want to utilize that faith to realize more about Krishna, who at least theoretically we accepted he might be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore we're going to follow his instructions to realize it. So that's called a submissive spirit. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it's very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it's a great mystery. So here we find the spiritual master is supposed to be a representative of the super soul. Of Lord, he's supposed to be a direct manifestation of what do we have? General representative of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he was conveying the message of Krishna, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in disciple succession. So that's the job of the spiritual master. So as mentioned previously, a disciple should always respect the spiritual master as a manifestation of Sri Krishna. But at the same time, one should always remember that the spiritual master is never authorized to imitate the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. False spiritual masters pose themselves as identical with Sri Krishna in every respect to exploit the sentiments of the disciples. But such impersonalists can only mislead their disciples, for their ultimate aim is to become one with the Lord. This is against the principles of the devotional code. So the spiritual master doesn't claim that he's God and he can do whatever he wants. He only claims that he's a servant of his spiritual master. And therefore, he only follows the instructions of his spiritual master. And for instance, Srila Prabhupada, in our society, we accept Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya, and therefore the spiritual master simply helps us understand Prabhupada's words, or the words of the Acharyas in the simple succession. And he only acts according to what his spiritual master, his example, and his instructions. And then Prabhupada, this whole purport is very important, but so the spiritual, Raghunath Das Goswami says we should always think of the spiritual master in relation to his intimate relationship with Mukunda, that he's a servant of Mukunda. So following the footsteps of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami and Srila Jiva Goswami, and later acharyas like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have confirmed the same truths. In his prayers to the spiritual master, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms that all the revealed scriptures accept the spiritual master to be identical with the personality of Godhead, because he is a very dear and confidential servant of the Lord. Gaudiya Vaishnavas therefore worship Sri Gurudev, the spiritual master, in the light of his being the servitor of the personality of Godhead. In all the ancient literatures of devotional service, and in the more recent songs of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and other unalloyed Vaishnavas, the spiritual master is also considered to be either one of the confidential associates of Srimati Radharani or a manifested representative of Srila Nityananda Prabhu. So this is quite an elevated position, to be a confidential associate of Srimati Radharani or manifested representative of Srila Nityananda Prabhu. Now the next verse will hopefully help clarify some of the mysteries that go into the relationship between Srila Prabhupada and the present initiating gurus, either Shiksha or Diksha. So, Srila Narottam Krishnas Kaviraj Goswami then quotes, Shiksha Guru Te Tajani Krishna Rasrup Bhakt Antayami Bhakta Shesa Edurup. One should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Godhead. Krishna manifests himself as the super soul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. Now here's the catch. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states that the instructing spiritual master is a bona fide representative of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna teaches us as the instructing spiritual master from within and without. From within, he teaches as Paramatma, our constant companion. And from without, he teaches from the Bhagavad Gita as the instructing spiritual master. There are two kinds of instructing spiritual masters. One is the liberated person fully absorbed in meditation and devotional service. And the other is he who invokes the disciple's spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions. Thus, the instructions in the science of devotion are differentiated in terms of the objective and subjective ways of understanding. So please note this next line. The Acharya, in the true sense of the term, was authorized to deliver Krishna, enriches the disciple with full spiritual knowledge, and thus awakens him to the activities of devotional service. So this line, I take it, is especially to those who are, all of us, who are acting as either Diksha or Shiksha Gurus. That there is an Acharya, and we know if we're the Acharya or not, if we're honest and sincere, if we're always absorbed in meditation on the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Krishna without even a moment's deviation, even when we're sleeping. Did anyone forget Krishna during his sleep last night? Did anyone remember Krishna during his sleep last night? We can't remember. Which is a good sign that we didn't remember completely. But the real Acharya, he's actually always absorbed in meditation on the Supersoul. Does that mean that all of us were all false initiating gurus and also false Shiksha gurus? That whatever we say is wrong because we're not always meditating on Krishna? No, what's the sense of being here then? What's the sense of saying anything about Krishna if we have no qualification? Just like, for instance, I give the example, say you become a professional golf player, which I don't recommend. But say you became a professional golf player, and say you have the most expert golf player that ever existed, and every time he hits the ball, he gets a hole-in-one. Then he's the Acharya. He's the founder Acharya of golf. But if someone else, for instance, he's a pro golfer, and he has some of the best scores in the world playing golf, but he doesn't get a hole-in-one every time, still we respect him as a golf player, certainly better than we are. And if we want to learn how to play golf, we have to learn from them. If we really want to become an expert golf player, we have to observe them, we have to learn from them. It may be possible to read the instructions of the golf player who hits a hole-in-one all the time, but we probably won't be able to understand his instructions very well. So better to take instructions from someone who can observe us and has more experience and more knowledge than we are, and they can help us progress certainly much more quickly. Therefore, one doesn't have to be, as Prabhupada said, Acharya in the true sense of the term, who's authorized to deliver Krishna. They have to be following the Acharya. We all have to be following the Acharya in order to make progress ourselves and to help others make progress. After all, what's the difference between the initiating guru and the Shiksha guru? The difference is for the disciples, they're supposed to accept the initiating guru to be as good as God before they take initiation. And therefore they make a vow at the time of initiation that they're going to take his instructions, but his instructions, not exactly his instructions, but the instructions that he represents in disciple succession, and serve them faithfully, especially chanting at least 16 rounds and following the regular principles. That's first initiation. Or trying to develop the Brahminical qualities, etc., in the second initiation. And to do that, one has to have an attitude of surrender. No one can follow the regular principles in this age or chant Hare Krišna offenselessly without an attitude of surrender and submission. But because he represents the Acharya in disciple succession, he also teaches his disciples how to recognize who else is better than he is. He doesn't claim that he's the Acharya, especially in our society. We take Srila Prabhupada as the Acharya, at least theoretically, and everyone else is an assistant to the Acharya. But when we take initiation, there's a special relationship that we vow to be submissive and to follow their instructions. And we learn from them and others how to do that, how to develop a service attitude, an attitude of surrender and submission. We may not have it, but we also need help from others. How to do that, because those who are more advanced in Krishna consciousness than we are, they've developed more of an attitude of surrender and submission. They may not know anymore. We may know the whole Bhagavad Gita backwards and forwards, but if we don't have an attitude of submission and surrender, then we really haven't entered very deeply into the instructions. So we have to find those who have more surrender, submission, some more knowledge of how to render service to Krishna, more expertise in doing it, and learn from them also. So the genuine spiritual master, he teaches us how to recognize those devotees, and also that same thing is there in the Bhagavad Gita and in all of Srila Prabhupada's books, how to do that. So the more expert the genuine spiritual master is, either shiksha or diksha, the more they can teach, they can help us develop that submissive service attitude towards Krishna and his devotees, intelligently, in other words, with proper discrimination. We should respect those, for instance, who chant the holy name but don't follow very strictly. We should cooperate with those who have actually taken initiation and are trying to serve the acharya in disciple succession. The acharya is in disciple succession, and we should faithfully serve those acharyas in disciple succession who are advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose hearts are devoid of the propensity to criticize others. Now, we take initiation, and at first we may think, well, we're supposed to think that my spiritual master is good as God. How good as God he is, we may not know. The Kanishta Adhikari, the Madhyama Adhikari, and the Uttama Adhikari, they're all considered pure devotees. The Kanishta Adhikari, as long as he's serving the instruction of his spiritual master, then he's acting on the level of pure devotional service, and therefore he's considered a pure devotee. On the other hand, the Madhyama Adhikari, the actual Madhyama Adhikari, is called also steady, so he's always serving the instructions of his spiritual master. And the Uttama Adhikari, he never deviates even for a moment from serving the instructions of his spiritual master. So they're all considered pure devotees, but to different degrees. One is the actual acharya, who we have to take shelter of, and everyone else has to take shelter of the acharya to actually act as either a bona fide initiating guru or a bona fide instructing guru. But there's a different etiquette in serving the initiating guru, at least within our society. We've created this expectation and this kind of like etiquette, which is not healthy, I'd say. In other words, we've created this, what do they call that? There's a social, there's this politically correct and socially acceptable. I guess socially acceptable. We've created this idea of who the initiating spiritual master within our society is, which goes way outside reality. In other words, the actual reality is lovable, and what we've created is like, impersonal. That the spiritual master is as good, in other words, the devotees who take the position, either shiksha or diksha guru, they may be lovable, but we put ourselves and them in a position where the tendency, at least for some devotees, or many devotees, they put them on a position which is totally outside of reality. It's not that we shouldn't serve with submission and service with a proper attitude. But when we start imagining them that they're on the same level as Srila Prabhupada, and we don't have to read Srila Prabhupada's books and understand his instructions, because our spiritual master is everything, we blindly accept that he's as good as Srila Prabhupada, and therefore we just blindly follow whatever he says without any discrimination, without any reference to Srila Prabhupada or to our previous acharyas, then we've made a big mistake. And if the spiritual master thinks himself independent of the instructions of the previous acharyas and doesn't try to improve himself to actually come to the level of an acharya, then he's made the biggest mistake. Then he'll simply be in the position of imitation. Now the problem within ISKCON is that we give full rein to the spiritual master as if they're Mahabhagavats. He can collect unlimited wealth. He can do whatever he likes with his followers up to the point where he gets into he breaks the regular principles with them or something, or he shows himself to be deviation from the principles. Up until then, it's all right. Do whatever you like. Good luck. Good luck to the disciples and good luck to the spiritual master. So that's dangerous. In other words, that's why Prabhupada created the GBC. Now the GBC is supposed to help the spiritual masters, help everyone in the society have a clear vision of who they are and what they're supposed to do. Keep everyone in line, that we're simply the humble servants of the servants of the servants of Krishna. So the GBC especially has to be humble servants of the servants of the servants of Srila Prabhupada. And have the same mood as Srila Prabhupada, trying to expand, trying to help everyone, enthuse everyone to follow a nice sadhana, the sadhana that he gave us, that Srila Prabhupada gave us. At the same time, develops this burning attitude to help others become Krishna conscious. That is the mercy of the Acharyas. That's what Lord Nityananda, that's what a representative of Lord Nityananda tries to do. Inspire everyone to develop this burning desire to give Krishna consciousness to others. So unless one actually has that burning desire, you don't have to try and figure out how to get it, because you already have it. Unless you're perfectly, whenever you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna appears before you, at least within your remembrance. Then one has to make improvement. But the problem is when you get disciples, they tell you how perfect you are, how wonderful you are, and if you get enough of them, and they take care of everything, you don't have to breathe, they breathe for you. If you're a neophyte devotee especially, or even a Madhyamadikari devotee in the beginning, you may become bewildered by the whole thing. You may not, but there's very likelihood, by so much favorable service, by so much adoration, you might become influenced by it. Does that mean my disciples are so kind to me that they criticize me all the time to keep me humble? You ask them, can you get me a glass of water? And they say, get it for yourself, Guru Maharaj. We don't want you to get puffed up. No, that's not a good idea. The disciple will fall. Even before the spiritual master falls down, the disciple has already fallen. No, he has to see the Guru is as good as God and serve them as a menial servant. But the Guru, if he is good as God, then he'll be the humblest servant, the greatest servant of his spiritual master. Because if one is actually on the highest platform, he'll think himself the most insignificant servant of his spiritual master, always inspired to increase his service, to become a servant of his spiritual master. But if he's not on that platform, then he may need assistance from others, especially his god brothers or other authorities, to help him come to that platform, to help him improve that position. Now, from the history of ISKCON, we usually wait until it's too late, till the spiritual master gets into deep problems, and then when he gets into difficulty, we claim he was never a spiritual master, he was a demon. He was a demon in disguise, which is crazy, completely absurd. There may be some rare person who comes to the Hare Krishna movement and works for 50 years as a humble servant of his spiritual master, coming to the program, following the regular principles, who's actually a demon. As Prabhupada used to laugh when he was presenting to his Indian audience in the beginning of the movement, that in India they were claiming that the devotees who came to India were actually CIA agents. So Prabhupada used to laugh. You think the CIA agents want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, chant Hare Krishna on beads and follow the regular principles? Is that, what CIA agent is going to do that? And what to speak of doing it for, 50, 60, whatever years it is. No, the problem is that we don't protect those who are senior, they don't show enough protection. The society hasn't come to the point to recognize how to put all of us in a position where we can actually show respect, humility, and love to everyone according to the level of spiritual advancement appropriately. So that may take some time. Part of the reason is, the GBC has to become more expert, has to discover more that's its primary duty, and not to make arrangements after, try to figure out what to do, which is one of my major services in ISKCON, what to do when everything goes wrong. Half my service to ISKCON is that. Which is not a very pleasant service, let me tell you. Because, Yamaraj would have a hard time figuring out what to do. And I'm not Yamaraj. Nor are anyone in my committees Yamarajas either. Anyhow, so some adjustment should be there. One of the major things, just to reveal it, is that everyone has to become accountable for what they're doing. In other words, if you leave everyone on their own and pretend everyone's a Mahabhagavat, they can do whatever they want with their money that they want. They can tell their disciples whatever they want up to a certain point, where it's probably claims here, at least we haven't come to the point where saying that actually I'm not just an ordinary spiritual master or even a Mahabhagavat, I'm actually Krishna. Let's have a rasa dance tonight. Yeah. We haven't come to that point yet. I hope not. Yeah, well, even in our society, we've kind of, especially some of them have gone that far. So we have to have more protection, more accountability, we should say. Everyone should be accountable. Are we still doing our southern sheets? We have to review that again. Yes. So everyone has to be accountable, including the spiritual masters. And even if they were a Mahabhagavat, this is Prabhupada's desire, that we work under the GBC, and the GBC should be holding everyone accountable financially, their sadhana. Everyone should be accountable, but not that they have a camera in everyone's room, Big Brother. They should appoint leaders who are actually capable, who don't have to be supervised so in that way, who actually have shown a desire to follow in that way. And they should make sure that all the money that's coming in is actually being utilized for the purpose of ISKCON, which would be to protect the devotees, take care of the devotees, and spread Krishna consciousness to others. So that's my point. We shouldn't blindly accept anyone, nor should we blindly accept anyone. We have to develop our faith. We should accept that everyone in our society, unless proven otherwise, is actually a sincere devotee of Krishna, and we should try to figure out how to appropriately serve them under the instructions of the Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, and his representatives who are representing the Acharya, that we have faith in, and a service attitude. When Srila Prabhupada was about to leave the planet, then some officials, the chief minister of Mahapradesh and another politician came to see Srila Prabhupada in 1977, November, right before Srila Prabhupada departed from this world physically. Then they wanted to ask Srila Prabhupada a question privately. And the servants objected, but Prabhupada said, that's all right. So they left. And I was informed that Bhakti Sri Maharaj left the tape recorder on, so I guess that's in the conversations book. And they asked Srila Prabhupada questions. And then after they left, the disciples asked Srila Prabhupada, what did they ask? And they asked who the next Acharya would be. And Prabhupada said, who are you going to appoint as the next Acharya? And Prabhupada said, I'm not appointing anyone as an Acharya. He said, all my disciples will be acharya. As much as they follow, as much as they've understood and follow my instructions, they are the next acharyas. They're the next leaders. He said, he told the politicians, you can also become a leader in our society. You can also eventually become an acharya, if as much as you follow and understand and follow the instructions that I'm giving. Now, Srila Prabhupada didn't appoint anyone as an acharya, in the sense, he did expect that devotees would give initiation, he said that repeatedly, but they should be remaining humble servants of the acharya. Then they can be a bona fide initiating guru. If they claim that they're the acharya on the same level as Srila Prabhupada, then that would be up to the GBC to recognize them as a self-effulgent person. They can't claim it themselves. That now I've become as good as my spiritual master. I've become as good as the acharya. Oh, that would be poison. But the GBC, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada pointed out also that's possible, that the GBC could recognize someone as a self-effulgent acharya. But that hasn't happened. And it's very unlikely it's going to happen within any of our lifetimes. Does that mean that there are no bona fide initiating spiritual masters? No, they're bona fide. And they become more and more like the acharya as much as they follow the acharya's instructions and understand their position. And they remain, even when they give instructions to the disciples, as a humble servant of their spiritual master in disciple succession. And they recognize all the other devotees as also representatives of the spiritual master and of the super soul, and give them proper respect and appreciation. Then the whole society will be one big happy spiritual family. So I hope I didn't confuse anyone. If not, you can ask a question. Yes.
I heard the story about Prabhupada said, I am the society, I am the guru. After then, some will be given his said, so he'll be represented for me.
What's that?
Represented for me,
Yeah.
Prabhupada said. So there's someone mind of Ritik mind, Maharaj. So he said, Prabhupada, our guru. So what is the clear this, please?
Well, we hope Prabhupada is their guru. We hope that's the point. Prabhupada should be their guru, and under his instructions, they should recognize those who the GBC, the Prabhupada appointed as his representative, and they should also recognize the process of initiation that Prabhupada gave. Not that by someone's giving initiation, they become an acharya. No, we have our founder acharya, and everyone can be judged how spiritually advanced they are by how much they become a servant to the spirit of the acharya. So the problem with the Ridviks is that they reject everyone else except for Srila Prabhupada, which is absurd as an authority. Because Prabhupada appointed so many authorities. And they may not be as absolute as Srila Prabhupada, as perfect, but because they're following Prabhupada, as much as they follow, they become perfect too. They're also perfect. And if one rejects the devotees who are following Prabhupada, then one at once becomes fallen. But because they're taking shelter of Prabhupada, therefore Prabhupada will also help them one day. Understand? So they don't have it completely wrong, because in our society, to a large extent, Prabhupada has been replaced by the idea that my spiritual master is as good as Srila Prabhupada. And the problem is that our acharya, our initiating gurus, haven't been able to educate their followers to understand what Prabhupada's position is. So therefore it's a problem. And therefore it's alienated many devotees from the society, because they can see that those who are giving initiation, they're doing a good, nice service, but they're also to a certain extent imitating Srila Prabhupada, which makes it difficult for their followers to understand who they really are. Therefore, the Ritviks aren't 100% wrong, but nor is the others in our society, nor we have gotten 100% right either. So we should get together and try to understand what Prabhupada actually wants, what the real actual philosophy is, which should produce automatically perfect harmony. So to think we're right and they're wrong is absurd. Or to think that they're 100% right and we're 100% wrong is also absurd. So we should try to figure out actually what the real philosophy is, because in the spiritual world, in spiritual consciousness, we don't have this disharmony that we've created amongst ourselves. The whole world is going to hell, and we decide to assist them in going to hell by fighting with each other, instead of actually doing a better service, of actually, uniting under one banner, under Srila Prabhupada's instructions, which will harmonize everything, and with the mission of spreading Krishna consciousness, convincing people that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, then we can actually do something effectively, more effectively than we're doing, to help to spread Krishna consciousness, so the direction of society can actually be changed. Otherwise, if these such elemental things as we've created Ritviks, what else have we created? I can't remember what. There's other things, we've created other things too. Yeah, well, that kind. We all still have that. Well, we've created Ritviks. We've created poison theory. Yeah, we have created some women Diksha Guru. We've created so many things to deviate us from spreading Krishna consciousness.
But our have women Diksha Guru, no?
What's that?
Our society have women Diksha Guru, no?
Well, every lady, every man, as much as they follow, they become guru. The problem is that we think that when I become a guru, I become an acharya. And therefore it's become such an enviable position, because you get money and followers, you get prestige, you get ability to actually put into practice, you get people to put into practice what your philosophy is. And therefore it becomes an enviable position, and is only limited to a few people. So then the women want to become gurus, the men want to become gurus, the children want to become gurus. Everyone wants to become a Diksha Guru, because then you get money, prestige, you get followers, you get everything that you don't get when you're not a so-called acharya. Anyhow, women are gurus. As far as giving initiation, that if initiation was the same as, on the same level as shiksha, you didn't get unlimited wealth, you didn't get unlimited prestige, you didn't get unlimited. You became humbler by giving initiation. You became simply a serious servant. Then, whether women are Diksha Gurus or not is another thing. Then other questions may raise. Then it wouldn't be a big, same emotional issue it is now. Wouldn't be, we got women Diksha Gurus. The women won, 1 point for the women. Oh, they stopped them, 1 point for the men. It's absurd. It's just completely crazy. It's outside the realm of reality. Could you imagine the spiritual world? There's one spiritual master in the spiritual world, Purnamasi. She's a woman. She's known as the spiritual master of everyone. So, they don't have a big problem in the spiritual world for that. But here it may be different. But that's another thing. But it's become, because of the distorted reality we have, therefore we made something completely insignificant, and the things that are most significant, we don't even bother with, like spreading Krishna consciousness and becoming Krishna conscious. We would argue to death where the jiva came from, if he fell from the spiritual world or not, and waste our time for years. Now, even more important, we waste our time trying to figure if Prabhupada is perfect or not, because within our society or not. Also, we have devotees actually writing articles, scholastical articles, trying to prove that Prabhupada was fallible, which is like that he made mistakes, according to their realm. That's a whole other conversation, which I'll go into because I think is really important right now. for a few minutes. I think it's the most important thing, actually. And that Prabhupada, as he said in one morning conversation with Jayadvaita Swami and Sesrup Maharaj, they asked him, but Prabhupada, we sometimes find that the Acharya, he falls asleep, sometimes he misquotes verse. How can we understand that the spiritual master is perfect? So Prabhupada said, you don't understand what perfection is. Perfection, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, is Bhakti Shashana, which means that he's a servant of spreading Krishna consciousness. It's how he's preaching the Sankirtan movement. That's his perfection. Now, for example, some of the examples that they used to prove that Prabhupada was imperfect. First of all, he said things which were socially unacceptable to different audiences. But generally he didn't say, to certain persons, he said things which are socially unacceptable. About women, about Hitler, about the Jews, about blacks, whatever. So this, how could Prabhupada have said this? I thought he saw everything equally, everyone equally. But he seems to be racist. So they have no conception, those who claim that. In other words, Prabhupada was talking to a certain persons, and maybe some topic was brought up. And Prabhupada, rather than, for instance, getting into an argument with them about those topics, he simply, mentioned something, a certain perspective on it, usually from the Bhagavatam. If you want some evidence that women are less intelligent from the Bhagavatam, you can find Urvashi, who's from the heavenly planets, and she's speaking to Purava. And she was amazed. She said, how can you be so attached to a woman? He said, a woman's heart is just like a razor. And, how can you actually fall down to that position to become enamored with a woman? So she was saying that, women's hearts may be like a razor. And it's true. Women's hearts may be like a razor. And men's heart may be like a razor too. But from the heavenly planets, from the point of view, she was a heavenly prostitute. And therefore she was performing her service to, I guess, Indra, or whatever she was performing, whoever she got that service. And she was acting like an ordinary woman. It doesn't mean that every woman has a heart like a razor. Women's hearts are generally known to be soft. But when they have material motivations, it can be like a razor. And therefore, Prabhupada may say that women are less intelligent in the sense they have a tendency to be influenced by sentiment at times. Now, if a woman is a perfectly follower of her husband or her spiritual master, whatever, and she's not being influenced by mundane sentiment, that she's as good as any other devotee from the spiritual point of view. But there's that tendency. So there's a tendency to be women to be less intelligent and therefore more influenced by sentiment. Now, is there any woman here who could say that all women are never influenced by sentiment? They're completely above sentiment? None of my disciples are like that. Maybe one or two. No, women are generally influenced more by sentiment. And therefore, it's not a completely incorrect statement to say that women are less intelligent. And then sometimes Prabhupada said, women are my disciples, my women in my society, they're just as intelligent as the men are. So it's according to time, place, and circumstance, who you're talking to. Now, if you find in the books it says something like that under certain circumstances, Prabhupada said women are less intelligent, and you get the women read that and say, oh, this is sexist. He's a misogynist. I reject him. He's an old man from India coming from, And then you have leaders in our society confirming it. Yes, I agree with them. Prabhupada was, as one said, he was a nice man. He loved everyone, but, he's just out of touch with reality, that's all. I mean, if you read that and you accept it, you might as well give up, It's like you're being poisoned spiritually. What we actually need is an explanation to understand how Prabhupada was preaching to a certain audience, and he was doing it in such a way not to agree with everything, to prove that women were less intelligent or blacks were uncontrolled, whatever. He was doing it so he could actually give them Krishna consciousness, the inspiration to do something for Krishna, rather than spending his time arguing with them over these mundane subjects, something that the persons couldn't understand. My example I give is that when I was first in Texas, I was distributing books. That was practically my whole existence. Besides cooking on Sunday, I was also a cook, by the way. But 7 days a week I would go out and distribute books. I was a temple president. My whole temple would go out, except for those who were cooking. And we were in Texas, near Houston, Texas. That was one of the places I was a temple president. And we go to this place called Vidor, Texas. Vidor, Texas is the headquarters in America for the Ku Klux Klan. Do you know what the Ku Klux Klan is?
Yes.
You know what the Ku Klux Klan is?
Yes.
Then they could Ku Klux Klan, I don't even know what the initials are, but anyhow, what's that? With white hat. They were the ones who used to find black people and hang them from trees. In the South, they were those are the people. So I went to the headquarters with the other members of my temple, and we distributed Bhagavad Gitas there. Of course, we didn't go in dhotis and tilak, by the way. But we went there. They were really simple people, not very intelligent, but very simple, whatever their ideas were. And we distributed many Bhagavad Gita. They were one of the best places in Texas to distribute Bhagavad Gitas because they were so simple. But we never told them the philosophy. Not the part that they disagree with, at least. We told them the part that they would agree with. And they bought the books. So we went there and try to convert them into, supporters of the, King. What's his name? What was his first name? Martin Luther King. Should we sign it? We went there to try to convince them to become followers of Martin Luther King. No, we wouldn't have sold anything. Matter of fact, we probably would have been hung from a tree too. So we try to preach appropriately to our audience, and we got some good results from it. So what to speak of someone who's expert as Srila Prabhupada? He was simply trying to be expertly infused within others Krishna consciousness. Now, he may have said things that later on could be taken out of context with a misunderstanding, without any understanding Prabhupada's intent or why he said something, and misinterpret it, and therefore think Prabhupada was an ordinary person, that sometimes he was on the absolute platform, and sometimes he just was fallible. He said things which were out of place or incorrect. No, it's due to lack of complete understanding. Anyhow, I think I went long enough. Grantarai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada Jasa Puja Mahotsava ki jai. So we continue with our program, the program. So we'll adjust the program a little bit. So the next point of the program is reading the offerings of Shri Prabhupada disciples, spiritual masters. And about 12 o'clock, we'll also simultaneously do Bhoga offering. So the reading will continue till approximately 12:15. And then after the Bhoga offering, we'll have Guru Puja. and short kirtan, and then this is for the first part of the program. So I will ask Maharaj to read your offering. And then we'll read the offering Jayapataka Maharaj, and if so try to be attentive and try to write down some points, inspiring points from our spiritual masters.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Satarne. Going in every day with the Harinam party during this year's Srila Prabhupada Marathon was certainly a transcendental experience, but trying to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books was a transcendental experience on another level, because suddenly I became an instrument of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. Practically everyone I approached became someone I was happy to be around, and I offered them Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya's mercy of transcendental knowledge. As I felt comfortable in people's company, many of them felt comfortable in mine. So whether they were from Slovenia, Italy, Germany, France, or anywhere else, it didn't matter, because practically everyone took one or more of Srila Prabhupada's books and was enthusiastic about contributing to the Sankirtan movement. This reminded me that when necessary, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread the Sankirtan movement with convincing logic and reason. However, in the Jharikanda forest, amongst the tigers, deer, and birds, he gave them the experience of Krishna Prema by emanating loving energy from his heart because of his absorption in Krishna and his pastimes. His love for Lord Krishna was so intense that the animals were immersed in an ocean of spiritual loving feelings. Indeed, the elephants rolled on the ground in ecstasy, and the tigers and the deer embraced and kissed each other. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that although we may not have the intense focus on pure devotional service that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to make the animals dance and chant and perform Sankirtan, we can still try to enter into the mood of distributing his mercy to others. Then out of his kindness and compassion, he will manifest his internal energy through us and at least make ordinary people dance in their hearts and participate in this movement. We may be Lord Chaitanya's insignificant instruments, but if he empowers us even a little bit with his transcendental energies, the mundane world can suddenly turn into Vaikuntha, and then wonderful things happen. Your servant, Prahladānanda Swami.
Jai Haribol. His Holiness Prahladānanda Swami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Now we will read the offering of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj. Devadana Prabhu, can you kindly read? Devadana Prabhu? Continue with the other disciples. So as
My dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances in the dust of your lotus feet. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. I chant 16 rounds because you want me to. I follow the 4 rules because I promised you. I try to be responsible because you instructed me to. I do things I don't like when it pleases you. I do austerities because I follow what you do. I make sacrifices because I owe it to you. I study your words to know what you want me to do. I teach because devotees need to know more about you. I serve because we inherited a huge mission from you. I can please you if I help you serve your Guru. I stay in ISKCON because you asked all of us to. I try to cooperate because this is what you beg us to do. I strive to live the kind of life you want me to be an example of what you want us to do. Before I act, I think, what would Prabhupada do? I pray that someday I can be more like you. I have no existence independent of you. Without you in my life, I wouldn't know what to do. I am not qualified to be called a devotee true. Whatever good I have is only because of you. Please use me for whatever you need me to do. I exist for your service and for what pleases you. Your servant Mahatma Dasa.
Next offering of
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashachadi Shatarine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth. Having taken shelter at His lotus feet, our respectful obeisances are unto you. O spiritual master, servant of Saraswati Goswami, you are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva and delivering the Western countries, which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was longing for the day when he would see the Eastern and Western people united, chanting Hare Krišna and dancing together in ecstasy. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took up this mission and spread the Sankirtan movement throughout India, and he requested some of his disciples to travel to England to spread Krishna consciousness. That was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's first attempt. He was very anxious about spreading Krishna consciousness in the Western countries. Swami Sadananda and Baron von Koch, both from Germany, came together with Swami Bon to India. Bhakti Bhushana Maharaj and I visited Baron von Koch in Munich in the early days. He told us some stories about his travels with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Each night on the campus, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati preached to his German disciples and guests and expressed his desire to spread Krishna consciousness in the West. Finally, Srila Prabhupada fulfilled that desire and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. He brought devotees from America, Europe, and other continents to Sridham Mayapur, Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri, and other holy places in India, chanting the holy name with local Vaishnavas and dancing in ecstasy. Srila Prabhupada said, "One of my friends dragged me. I was at that time nationalist and manager of a big chemical factory. My age was about 24 years. So one of my friends, he asked me that there is a nice sadhu, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He has come in Calcutta, so let us go and see. So I was reluctant. I thought, just like so, there are so many sadhus, so I am not very much interested, because I had very bad experience, not very good. So I said, oh, these kind of sadhus, there are many. You'll be glad to know that even in young age or early age, it was Krishna's grace. Even amongst my young friends, I was considered the leader. In my school days, in my college days, in my private friendship, some way or other, I became their leader. And one astrologer, sometimes he read my hands. He said in Hindi, "Kukum chale nal, kukum chale na," means your hands speaks that your order will be executed. Govinda Dasi found some old Indian newspapers from the 1970s in her attic in boxes. And one had an article about Srila Prabhupada written by a well-known astrologer. Nobody can read this chart. If they say they can, they are simply lying. This personality comes and goes at his own sweet will. He is not bound by anybody or anything. The stars are lined up perfectly. There is no question of karma. There is working directly under the will of God. And when he writes, his pen does not have in it ink. His pen has in it fire, which will burn the ignorance of the whole world. So anyway, it was Krishna's grace. I would not go, but their point of view was that unless a certified that sadhu Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he'll not be accepted. Therefore, he dragged me. So I went to see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur on that day. On the first meeting, just we offer our obeisances. It is the practice. So immediately he began his talking that you are all educated young men. Why don't you take up Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult and preach all over the English-knowing public? Why don't you take up this matter? So I argued with him in so many. At that time, I was nationalist. So I told that, who will accept our message? We are a dependent nation. Nobody will care. In this way, in my own way, in these younger days, but we belong to the Vaishnavas family. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Radha Govinda, that is our worshipable deity. Worshipable deity. So I was very glad that Radha Krishna cult, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, this sadhu is trying to preach. It is very nice. So at that time, we had some talks, and of course I was defeated by his argument. My argument, and then when he came out, we were offered prasadam, very nice treatment of Gaudiya Math. And when I came out of the street, my friend asked me, what is your opinion of this sadhu? Then I said that here is the right person who has taken up Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message, and now it will be distributed. So I was at that time full, but I opened like this. And I accepted him as my spiritual master immediately. Not officially, but in my heart. That was in 1922. Then in 1923, I left Calcutta on my business tour, and I made my headquarters in Allahabad. Allahabad is about 500 miles from Calcutta. So I was thinking that I met a very nice saintly person. That was my thinking always. So in this way, in 1928, there was a Kumbh Mela. At that time, these Gaudiya Math people came to Allahabad to establish a center there. And somebody else said somebody informed them that you go to that Prayag pharmacy. My drug shop was named as Prayag Pharmacy. My name was also there. You go and see Abhay Babu. He is religiously He will help you. These Gaudiya Math people, they came to see me. So, sir, we have come to you. We have heard your good name, so we want to start a temple here. Please try to help us. So because I was thinking of these Gaudiya Math people, that I met a very nice saintly person, then as soon as I saw them, I was very much gladdened. Oh, here are these people, these persons, they have come again. So in this way, gradually I became attached to these Gaudiya Math activities, and by the grace of Krishna, my business also was going very well. Yes, Krishna says.
The business wasn't going very well.
Was not going, yeah, sorry, was not going very well. Yes, Krishna says, Yasyaham anugrina nami harishya tat dhanam sanaha. Means if somebody wants to be actually devotee of Krishna, at the same time keeps his material attachment, then Krishna's business is he takes away everything material. So that percent he becomes, I mean to say, dependent on Krishna. So that actually happened to my life. I was obliged to come to this movement to take up this very seriously. And I was dreaming that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is calling me, please come out with me. So I was sometimes horrified. Oh, what is this? I have given up my family life. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is calling me. I have to take sannyasa. Oh, I was horrified, but I saw several times calling me. So anyway, it is by his grace I was forced to give up my family life and so-called business life. And he brought me some way or other in preaching his gospel. Now Srila Prabhupada is calling all of us to let go of wasting our time in useless sense gratification and assist him in continuing to spread Krishna consciousness to every nook and corner of this planet. The whole world is eternally be indebted to his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada's servant, Bhakti Vaibhava Swami.
Hariyol, His Holiness Bhakti Vaibhava Swami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. So next offering from His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami. Udamita Prabhu, can you kindly read?
Shreях and Prayach. Dear Srila Prabhupada, I take this occasion of celebrating your blessed appearance in our midst as an opportunity to offer prostrated, heartfelt obeisances to your lotus-like feet. I then turn to offer prostrated obeisances to the lotus-like feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada. Все в реду. Се умикам. Your own beloved spiritual preceptor who 150 years ago in this year blessed the world by his appearance. Several times you shared with your disciples how, with just a few powerful words, Srila Saraswati Thakur change your life as a young man, giving you a clear and definite mission, namely to preach Krishna consciousness in the English language. I can understand that he whom you immediately recognized as your eternal Guru Maharaja had already been desiring to spread the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the wider world when he met you, who were at that time a young college student. In his mind and heart, he was already envisioning a spiritual dwelling for the whole world, and as we all know, you in particular took this vision to heart in such a way as to make it a wonderful reality. And taking this vision to heart, you expanded and deepened it, and demonstrated how it is possible to reach and touch many unlikely hearts, and one of which was mine, when I was fortunate to meet you in Paris in the summer of 1972. It would be 2 years later in Germany that I mastered the courage to ask you my burning question: how can I give up material desire? To which you immediately answered was, no desire, desire only for Krishna, and to which you added examples of how one might serve Krishna. You can drive, quoting, you can drive a car for Krishna. A fitting example, considering that my service at that time was a temple driver. It was a practical example, which just recently I came to further appreciate in the light of surprising comment of Srila Saraswati Thakura discussing Shreyach and Prayach on February 14, 1936, during his final Vyasa Puja celebration in his manifest presence. And now describing, two streams come from independence, Shreyach, that through which we get eternal benefit, and Prayach, temporary happiness. When Shreyach and Prayach have become one, meaning that service to the Lord has become one's objects of happiness, is a situation where everything is good for us. When Prayach is merged into Shreyach, then our true auspiciousness takes place. Quoted in the mission, Srila Prabhupada and his divine agent Swami Bibi Bodhajan Mandala. On this occasion, I wish to appreciate more deeply how you, Srila Prabhupada, demonstrated by your boldness how these two apparently opposing aims, the temporal and eternal, could be perfectly merged in the resolve to share the vision of the previous acharyas with the world. As we now mark the 150th anniversary of His Divine Grace Srila Saraswati Thakur appearance, I also seek your blessing to simply appreciate that your Guru Maharaja, being the powerful preceptor that he was, attracted many special souls to his shelter. From among his numerous disciples, Srila Saraswati Thakur awarded sannyasa to several of his male disciples, and several more later received sannyasa initiation from one or another of his sannyasa disciples. According to the recently published book, Our Mission, Srila Prabhupada and His Divine Agents, compiled by Swami Bibi Bodhayan Maharaja, altogether 38 of Srila Saraswati Thakura's disciples became sannyasis, and these disciples accepted Babaji Vesha. All of these devotees, each in their own ways, were remarkable in their devotion, learning and preaching, as described in the book Our Mission, Srila Prabhupada and His Divine Agents, which includes an especially extensive and deeply appreciative account of yourself, your life, and your great accomplishments, while fully honoring your instruction to not associate with your brothers, all of whom have, I believe, now departed this world. I pray for the good wishes and blessings of all Srila Saraswati Thakura's disciples upon us your disciples and followers to deeply imbibe the spirit of devotional service that you demonstrate, of artfully bringing Shreya and Preyah into perfect harmony in all your words and actions. And may our Parama Guru, Srila Saraswati Thakura, be especially kind upon us as a grandfather is especially kind to his grandchildren. Your aspiring servant, Krishna Kshetra Swami.
Hare His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. So we read two more offerings as it looks. Next offering is from His Holiness Radhanath Swami. Hare Krishna. Dear Srila Prabhupada, on the auspicious day of your Vyasa Puja, I offer my prostrated obeisances to your lotus feet. 59 years ago, on this sacred day, you were aboard the Jaladuta cargo ship and about to cross the Arabian Sea. You were practically alone, as there was only a small crew of working sailors and captain aboard. At that time, at the age of 69, you had a meager 40 rupees and did not know a single person where you were destined to go. A few days before you boarded the ship, you went on a pilgrimage to Mayapur Dhama to beg for the blessings of your Guru Maharaja, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada at his Samadhi Mandira. The sole reason for you to risk your life on this impossible mission was to serve his instruction with limitless compassion, to bring Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message to the Western world in the English language. After 38 days at sea, while tolerating seasickness and heart attacks, you arrived in America and eventually came to New York City. There, in your own words, you were, quote, wandering like a homeless vagabond, end of quote, seeking someone to hear Lord Chaitanya's message. The next year, in 1966, on the day of your Vyasa Puja, in a small rundown storefront on the Lower East Side, you held the first initiation ceremony for 11 young American hippies of the counterculture. Most of them had only been coming for a month or so and had no clear idea what initiation actually was. At the time, they were the whole movement. The next year, in 1967, your health deteriorated and you decided to return to Vrindavana, where Krishna would either end your physical life or grant you the health to push forward your Guru Maharaj's mission. That year, on your appearance day, you were in your simple room at the Radha Damodar temple. Upon your health improving, you departed from Vrindavana to the west a second time, circling the world again and again to spread the pure message of Srimad Bhagavatam and the holy names of Krishna. I remember your Vyasa Puja in 1972. You were personally present while hundreds of wonderful devotees gathered on a hilltop at New Vrindavan to hear you speak and lead kirtan. In your overwhelming personal presence, we were united as a spiritual family to celebrate your limitless glories. We offered our lives in gratitude to you while chanting, dancing, and feasting. Today, Srila Prabhupada, on your Vyasa Puja, millions of your followers in all parts of the world are worshipping you with hearts and souls. In magnificent temples, spacious parks, prestigious auditoriums, and sanctifying homes, your glories are permeating. It's truly a festival of gratitude. Still, your Vyasa Puja is a sober opportunity for each of us to personally meditate on how your divine grace has transformed our lives and opened the doors to the spiritual world of Hare Krišna. It is a day to contemplate the quality of our own sincerity in how genuinely we are striving to please you. According to the sincerity in which we personally reciprocate with your mercy by living in the shelter of your instructions, Paramatma in each of our hearts will bless us with spiritual progress. Genuinely expressing our gratitude to you by following your teachings and assisting in your mission in our sweet path of surrender. Is our sweet path of surrender. By striving to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hare Krišna, through hearing and chanting, and to respectfully cooperate with one another in devotional service are the ways you instructed us to please you. We pray to always remember that your causeless compassion is our only real qualification. In a world being torn apart by brutal wars, imminent catastrophic climate changes, deadly diseases, and the unavoidable complexities of quarreling, fighting, and division, where false ego, lust, anger, and greed prevail, we need to take your message with all urgency. You have given us shelter in the association of those who strive to personally love Krishna. We can see, as a testament of your mercy, how sincere devotees from different sides of opposing, battling nations can still honor one another as Vaishnavas. This is possible when we choose to surrender to the path of bhakti as you have given it. Srila Prabhupada, when focusing on your life and teachings, devotee relationships can transcend racial, religious, social, or ideological conflicts, and we can be united as Vaishnavas. Such devotional communities and Vaishnava character can awaken the joy of pure bhakti within the suffering hearts of a population being devoured by the blazing flames of Kali Yuga. This is the supreme benediction of the Harinam Sankirtan movement you so mercifully bestowed upon us and entrusted to us. How can we ever repay you? Srila Prabhupada, I beg forgiveness for my countless shortcomings. I'm a hypocritic fallen soul, crying for your mercy and praying to serve you, beloved servants. Radhana Swami. Sorinath Radhana Swami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we have final offering. This is offering from Navayoga Pit. So yes, Mukundamada, can you read kindly?
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Adeshatarine. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to your divine grace. Immediately upon seeing you, your Guru Maharaj knew you would be the one to spread Lord Chaitanya's mercy. So in Calcutta, Guru Maharaj started in 1918. And I think in 1922, when I was a young man, one of my friends, he took me to Guru Maharaj. That was my first meeting. And of course, he was speaking to everyone, but he found me as something. So immediately after my meeting, he said this, that why don't you preach this Chaitanya cult in the Western countries? This is a memorable day. Of course, I did not know that I will have to do it. Laughter. Lecture, Los Angeles, February 7, 1969. From that day on, you taught constantly about how to serve your Guru Maharaj's mission while remaining in the Grihastha ashram. Later, you received another instruction. If you ever get money, print books. And in your last exchange through letters with your Guru Maharaj, he wrote to you. So the reply was the same as he wanted me to do this preaching work in 1922. When I first met him, that you try to preach whatever you have learned from me to the English-knowing people in English. That will do good to you and to the people to whom you shall preach. That is my instruction. Lecture, Los Angeles, February 7, 1969. After some years, while you were intensely desiring to serve your Guru Maharaj's mission, but were unable to do so, your desire was fulfilled and you took the renounced order of life. Despite facing many obstacles in those first years as a sannyasi, you did not give up, but rather depended on the previous acharyas and had faith in them. While staying at the Damodara temple, you begged for Rupa Goswami's mercy at his samadhi, and similarly for the mercy of Advaita Acharya at Advaita Bhavan a day before you left for America. You show us thus by your example how to be both bold and have faith in the parampara. In the years since, after the movement had grown, there was no doubt that you were the Senapati Bhakta, Lord Chaitanya foretold. Your success was evident, but you always gave credit to your Guru Maharaj. Because you were connected to the Guru Parampara, as you presented Krishna consciousness, whoever came in contact with you felt the glorious weight you are carrying. Those among them who were most fortunate decided to carry the weight of the Parampara throughout the world under your order. The Parampara continued wherever your disciples went. Although you have not visited here, the city of Ljubljana fortunately received your books in 1977, carried to us by one of your disciples. The seeds were planted, and 6 years later, ISKCON was registered in Slovenia. We are trying to faithfully carry out your instructions and the instructions of the Parampara to reciprocate with everything you gave us, although it is not actually possible to reciprocate fully. You said, actually, you are correct. It is not possible for the disciple to pay the debt to the spiritual master. Therefore, the disciple remains eternally indebted to the spiritual master and continually works in such a way that the spiritual master may become pleased upon him for such sincere services rendered. Letter, Paris, July 27, 1976. We pray to you to shower your mercy on us, so we will be able to execute your mission and be empowered to connect others to the Parampara you gave us. Your humble servants at Nava Yoga Pit, Ljubljana, Slovenia.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we put that. So we did the last offering for today, this morning program. Devadharma Prabhu asked me to read the offering of His Holiness Jayapatak Maharaj. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Bhutare Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vachanine Nirvishesha Shunyavade Paschatadhistarine. Dear Srila Prabhupada, on this most auspicious day of your Vyasa Puja, I submit my respectful homage unto your divine lotus feet. By your divine grace blessings, this year I completed my Bhaktivedanta degree, and I present it to you as an offering. Although I have read Srimad Bhagavatam many times, this time I read your Bhaktivedanta purpose even more carefully. You mentioned that your purports are your ecstasies. It's always so blissful to read each word, which is full of profound knowledge, potency, and love for Lord Krishna. I'm eagerly waiting to do the Bhakti Sarvabhauma course now. And I'm encouraging the devotees to take up Shastri courses like Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Vedanta, and Bhakti Sarvabhauma, something you desired. Many devotees are now taking their Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, and Bhakti Vedanta degrees, and in this way becoming philosophically stronger as they systematically read your books. Srila Prabhupada, during the annual Sri Gaura Purnima festival this year, we inaugurated the TVOP's East Wing, the Narasimha Dev Wing, during a grand 3-day festival. His Grace Ambarisha Prabhu Swaha Mataji and the team are doing wonderful service with this magnificent temple. In the presence of most of the GBCs, we inaugurated the Lord Nrsimhadev's altar. Thank you. Lord Nrsimhadeva's altar. We are also working on the Museum of the Vedic Planetarium, along with the Bhaktivedanta Institute, so we can present the Vedas as good science in exhibiting wing. Srila Prabhupada, we would like to put all our efforts into fulfilling your instructions and desires for the TVOP. We pray to your divine grace that the TVOP can be completed on time so we can offer it to your divine grace. This year marks the 150th Vyasa Puja of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada. All the Saraswata Gaudiya Vaishnavas gathered on our ISKCON campus and celebrated for 3 days, glorifying Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada. Even UNESCO recognized this day and mark it on their calendar. As I do every year, this year I had also planned a spiritual safari in which your grand disciples generally participate. It will be in Vrajamandala this year. I left Mayapur to join the safari, but I fell sick and had to be admitted to the ICU in a hospital in Delhi. Currently, my physical health is not very good, but otherwise, by your divine grace blessings, I continue to travel and preach as much as possible, working through my assistance as your divine grace instructed. We plan to install Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus footprints in Vrajamandala with the safari devotees in attendance in April 2024. As I now can't be there physically, I ask His Grace Jananivas Prabhu, along with the safari devotees, to install the lotus footprints on my behalf. We are endeavoring to fulfill our Param Guru, Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa, Parivrajacharya Ashtatara Shatta, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's desire to establish at least 100 lotus footprints of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the land of Bharat. We are trying to establish these lotus footprints in Gaura Mandala, Vraja Mandala, East India, South India, and Western India. My dear Srila Prabhupada, my caretakers keep telling me that I should not travel but should stay in one place. Yet, I wonder where I would be if your divine grace hadn't traveled at your advanced age. Somehow, I'm trying to fulfill your instructions to me, but I don't think I have even done a fragment of what I would like to do for your divine grace. Please bless me that I can become an instrument in spreading the mercy of Lord Chaitanya far and wide. Your servant, Jayapataka Swami. Harivol, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So we'll continue with the last point of the program of the morning part. So we'll have now Guru Puja and little Kirtan. So we'll ask, can you lead the Guru Puja? Yeah, and Maharaj, can you offer the Arati?
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. की श्री गुरु चरण पद्मा केवल भक्ति सद्मा बंदमो ये सावधान माते बंदमो ये सावधान माते जहरो प्रसादे भाई ए भवतरिया कृष्ण प्राप्ति हाय जहाँ होते कृष्ण प्राप्ति हाय जहाँ होते गुरु मुख पद्मा वाक्य चित्ते कोरियायक पद्मा वाक चित्ते को रियायक आर नक रिह मने आशा गुरु चरणे रति ऐसे उत्तम गति जे प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा जे प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदान दिल जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिल जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से हे दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित आदिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जहाते अविद्या विनाश जाते प्रेम भक्ति जहाते अविद्या विनाश जाते निवेद गाय जहार चरित निवेद गाय जहार चरित Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamaya Nara Bandhu Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamaya Nara Bandhu Lokena lokera jivana Lokena lokera jivana Sila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Liha Prabhu Garodaya Deha More Padachaya Liha Prabhu Karodaya Deha More Padachaya Liye Bejas Kusuk Tribhuvana Liye Bejas Kusuk Tribhuvana Sila Prabhupada Pratita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Sila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Srila Prabhupada ki Namayo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaya Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunnavadi Paschat Desatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi, Gaur Bhaktavinda. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Hari bolo. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Gauraanande. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Avirbhav Tithi Mahamahotsav ki Jai Vishnupad Brahman Saparibraja Kacharya Astatra Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnupad Brahman Saparibraja Kacharya Astatra Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ramacharya Haridas Thakur ki Sri Sanat Bhatta Raghunath Jiva Prabhupada Prabhu Gavan ki Prem se Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Saraswati Gaur Bhaktavinda ki Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sampurna Dhakuna Giriraj Guru Maharaj ki Ganga Mai ki Yamuna Mai ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mathura Dham ki Sikhat Tripura Dham ki Jagannath Baladev Sudhar Maharani ki Sri Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki Sri Radha Madhav Ashtish Kishore Mahaprabhu ki Panchatattva ki New Yoga Peeth ki Panchatattva ki Nisringadev Bhagavan Prahlad Maharaj ki Jaga Jaga Dharma Nama Sankirtan ki Ananta Gadi Vaishnava Vrinda ki A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada is Happiness Day Mahamahotsav ki Nanda Utsav Mahamahotsav ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All Gurus they are assembled devotees. All Gurus they are assembled devotees. All Gurus they are assembled devotees. All Gurus to Guru and Gauranga. All Gurus to Srila Prabhupada. Chakra Dharvas ke paas Namo Vajavatitan Pavana Vaishnava Bho Namo Namo.
Jai Jagadish Hare
Jaya Ho Nrisimhadev, 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 Jaya Nrisimhadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj.